People have told me it's an intimidating building. If they haven't been here before, it's really difficult to navigate because of the size. And they may not even know that there's an archive here. So I think we're sort of constantly on this project and other projects, constantly trying to sort of remove those barriers.
Bit of a Shakespeare geek when I was younger, but then we love reading books, so I thought it's worth coming along and doing something different. We go to the library every couple of weeks, but we hasn't been to this one yet either. I was aware of the Shakespeare Library, not the actual collection. No, it's been years since I've come here, to be honest with you.
COVID had a massive shadow in terms of engaging people, re-engaging people, but it also created a massive opportunity in that people just wanted to come and do something after lockdown. They wanted to come into somewhere different, they wanted to do activity.
It's great that these works have always been the property of the people of Birmingham, but the people of Birmingham haven't necessarily known that or necessarily felt that. And so that as a title stands for very little, but this is a real thing. It's something I can call my friend and say, have you been to the Shakespeare exhibition? Often these things are documented, academics hold it and they know, and they keep it amongst themselves, not necessarily by choice. I think often they want to share it, but nobody comes to listen to the academic talking about Shakespeare unless you're already an academic who likes Shakespeare. And this is more for people, anybody, to go, yeah, let me go and see a little bit about that.
Shakespeare is a mark of an elite education, and children who grow up to be afraid or alienated by Shakespeare tend to feel that they failed it in some ways. So actually, this project and its heritage presents a massive challenge to Shakespeare's place in the education system, which I represent as a professor of Shakespeare. So yes, one would hope that any sane Shakespeare academic would welcome, as you suggest, would welcome the idea of sharing Shakespeare, giving Shakespeare away, making connections between, just making Shakespeare available to more people.
For our community, that has a number of challenges before they bring their children to school, where education is really important. Actually coming on site, you can see the excitement, the children are talking, and I know we'll be talking about it for a number of days afterwards.
Our current Year 5s, they focused on Macbeth in guided reading, one of my favourites. So the link has been there, and that fusion between Bollywood and Shakespeare, it's groundbreaking, and we'll be very interested in a future visit.
One of the absolute highlights was being on a bus driving around 4 schools with Desi Blitz, and you kind of pull up to the school and all the children in the playground would go absolutely bananas. And just having scans from the collection and being able to say to a group of people, whether they're 5, whether they're 10, whether they're teachers, what languages do you speak? There is Shakespeare, there's something in the Shakespeare collection for you. Have a look, and being able to hand that scan over is just kind of just incredible.
So yeah, it's been a great learning curve, and obviously working with schools, we're working with lots of different young people and generations, and talking about the project, and also working with Hyder Ali himself, bringing him over from Kashmir to Birmingham to hand paint this bus for this project has been a massive accomplishment for us as an organisation, but also to show that how diverse Shakespeare was, and this is a fantastic way to do it, to bring in the bus into schools and to talk about the project.
A sentence that really stayed with me from their exhibition and from conversations with India was, Shakespeare has been in India as long as the British have been in India. And it kind of addressed it head on. So through them being able to explore the different languages and that history in a way that is accessible, that is engaging, that actually brings people on board, was really positive and really exciting. And led to some very interesting conversations with some people that have to be had. The reality of kind of, if you're working at heritage, if you're approaching history, if you're approaching kind of collections, it is uncomfortable. There is a very difficult, challenging legacy.
I think all of the activities that we've done away from the library have been challenging and quite difficult to deliver, but actually that's kind of what we should be doing. I mean, the library's brilliant. People will come here. It's city centre. It's easy for most people to access, but not everybody will. You know, people don't really know what the Shakespeare Memorial Library is or how to access it. So for me, anything that happens away from the library, that I think is kind of hitting what we should be doing. And seeing every First Folio tour that we've done has been completely different because of the partners that we've worked with. And that's been fantastic for me because we're just sort of helping facilitate it and we're bringing the folio, but really it's their event and we support it in any way that we can.
I think one of the reasons the Folio Tour has been so successful is that approach of this is not our event, it's yours. I was very conscious kind of working with Shakespeare, working with archives, working with history, working with arts, that there can be a perception of almost like culture dumping. We have this thing, we've brought to you this to your community because you don't have it. And that is something I get very fired up about because it can be incredibly damaging and just actively put people off engaging. So our approach was very much to say to a group, to an organisation, we have this book, what can we do to support you to build this event around it? And I think that is the model that's been so successful.
We started in Sutton Coldfield, we've been to Handsworth, we've been to Yardley, we've been to Smethwick, we went to the Black Country Living Museum. And in each of these different places, the professionals that we work with at those locations were just fantastic at bringing in very different types of audiences. So sometimes there were queues and queues of local, probably Shakespeare enthusiasts. Other times it was people who were really just visiting the venue, didn't know we'd be there, but then were interested. The library is here for all of those people. Clearly one project wasn't going to connect with everybody, but I think we've done a reasonably good representative spread of a lot of the diversity of Birmingham.
Chodzi na scenę i znika, a kiedy na niej jest, gra różne role w 7-aktowym akcie.
Parabolo is definitely a community partner who were kind of in it for the long haul and wanted to keep kind of working and thinking about kind of legacy. They kind of always had the eye on that, which was kind of really exciting. And so they developed a piece that matched oral histories from people in the Polish community in Birmingham talking about their experience of migration with Polish material from the collection. So it kind of hit all the different elements of the project.
A real treasure of the collection is dzieła Williama Shakespeare'a, William Shakespeare's works, translated by Ignacy Kapaliński, the first Polish translations from the original English.
Well, yeah, so again, a huge community in Birmingham and in Britain. So to work with a sort of theatre company that specialises works with Polish communities, again, yeah, hugely significant, and having Polish performers come to this country. So yeah, really interesting, and I think a really important part of the project. And I think we couldn't have done this project without, you know, the languages are so significant, and to be in a city like Birmingham, you have to explore those parts of it.
Królestwa nie ma dla Ryszarda, a jaką inną radość świat dać może, wziąć drogę swą krwawym toporem.
And so just hearing Shakespeare performed in Polish on the streets of Birmingham was really exciting and really moving, but also kind of gave us an opportunity to talk about like the history of the collection. Things have been catalogued by people who don't speak that language. Sometimes there's errors, sometimes there's kind of new information to be discovered. And that speaks not only in the kind of Eastern European material, but like across the board. It kind of was recorded on Zoom, it kind of broadcast globally. And so that link kind of is an example of how actually once you start working with someone collaboratively, that can open up some exciting doors. So we've since had academic inquiries based on that information session.
W imię Twej leśnej służb, Pani tego życia.